This might be a hot take, but Final Fantasy XIV on the Steam Deck might be the best way to play the game. Let me tell you why. I went into this expecting 14 to struggle on a handheld like the Steam Deck, but I was pleasantly surprised. While it's true that the game can't maintain a consistent 60 FPS in busy areas like Limsa or during Alliance raids where there are 24 people, it actually performs quite well pretty much everywhere else. So here's what you can expect from performance, but first let's talk about how each preset looks. Here I am just standing in a dungeon. This is max settings. This is high desktop, standard desktop, high laptop, standard laptop, and this is the lowest possible settings that I can make. Here I am in Limsa, and with standard laptop I'm getting 42, with high laptop I'm getting 36, and with the lowest possible settings I'm getting 51. With standard desktop I'm getting 41, high desktop 31, and maximum settings I'm getting 30 FPS. And this is what you can expect just walking around Gridania. Alright, here's some footage of an Alliance raid. Remember, there are 24 people here, and you're getting about 30 FPS at max preset, which to me is just crazy. And then here's what high desktop looks like. You're getting around 40 FPS, which in my opinion is still really good. But the thing you're going to realize is that the game kind of caps out around 40 FPS at the top end. And the way I can explain it is because there's just so much going on, all the effects are on, and there's just so many people that this is probably getting bottlenecked at some point. And that's why you don't really see anywhere above 40 FPS in each of the presets. So you might be asking yourself, what is the best settings for Final Fantasy XIV? And honestly, I would say just stick with the standard desktop preset. I think it looks good and it runs pretty well. So I don't think you'll have any complaints around that. You'll usually be around 40 FPS, which on Steam Deck is really good. But if you don't care about the way the game looks and you just want to have the highest frame rates possible, here's what you gotta do. So first start with standard laptop graphics preset and scroll down on 3D resolution scaling. Go ahead and just turn that down to 50. You're gonna realize that this just already looks pretty bad. Leave dynamic resolution on, and then just go down the list, turning anything that you can off or setting it to low, and you're pretty much good to go. Obviously, the game is not going to look anywhere near as good, but if all you care about is frame rate, then you know, who cares? This is basically what it looks like. Like I said, it's not going to look well. And with these settings, you're running the game at 480p. And it's what I consider the lowest possible settings. So throwback to old YouTube. And yeah, I'm getting about, you know, around 60 FPS. And sure, the game looks like a potato. But again, if all you care about is frame rate and I guess battery life, because this is also going to help with battery life, these are the settings for you. I don't recommend it, obviously, because you know it doesn't look well. But yeah, this is the best frame rate that you can get. Which, I mean, hey, for a handheld, it's still pretty good. I mean, 70 FPS, 80, almost 80 is crazy. And, you know, if you zoom in, it doesn't look so bad. You know, you can tell it's still a character. But when you zoom out, yeah, it's just pixelated blob at that point. Next, I want to talk about the UI. 14 has tons of options when it comes to messing with your UI, and while you only have about 800p of screen space, the game's customization gives you tons of options. I would first suggest that you go into your settings and put all of your UI elements to 60% to start off. After that, just start opening up different windows, and with your right thumbstick, push it in to resize the windows. Obviously, everyone differs, so choose what you like. Now let's talk about the controls. This is where the Steam Deck truly shines. With a full controller built into the device, plus the ability to connect to a monitor and use a mouse and keyboard, you really do get the best of both worlds. The real MVP here though is the Steam Deck's trackpads. These in my opinion are the most underrated feature on the Steam Deck, and it gives you tons of flexibility for how to play. For example, you can just use the trackpads as a mouse, which is good if you have a lot of hotbars on your screen like me, but if you want to get a little bit more interesting, you can also set them up as hotkeys for shortcuts, and the Steam Deck makes it really easy to do. First, click the Steam button, then go to Controller Settings, click Edit Layout, click Trackpads, and by default, this is where you're going to see. I personally like to use my left trackpads for my hotkeys and the right side as my mouse. So for right trackpad behavior, I'm going to choose as mouse. Then on left trackpad behavior, scroll down and click on either radio menu or touch menu. Radio menu puts everything in a circle while touch menu puts it on a grid. This is just personal preference, so choose whichever you prefer. Then give it a name like hotkeys and then click on the settings button. This might look a little complicated, so let's take it step by step. You see how it starts you off with a center button? Tap on add command and you will see this screen. Starting from the top, these are all the options that you have to work with. Gamepad has every button the controller has, mouse has everything you can do with a mouse, and keyboard has every key on a keyboard, and so on. For me, I like to have left mouse click on the center since it makes it easier for me to click on my buttons on my hotbars, like mounts and emotes, but feel free to choose whatever you like. Now you'll see that there's a little mouse click icon on the bottom left. Now click the Steam button to go back to the game and touch your left trackpad and look at what happens. You now have a little pop-up with your hotkeys. Click the Steam button again to go back to the hotkey menu. You might want to pull up the keybinds in game so you can see the common shortcuts. For example, the U key brings up the duty finder. So go to the keyboard section and click the U key. Now look at the bottom left and look what happened. The U key was now added to your hotkeys. But since we are here, let's keep this organized. So click the settings icon next to the U key and then click rename command. I'm going to type duty finder, hit enter, and boom. Now you can see when you hover over your trackpad, it would say duty finder. Cool. Let's add another keybind, but something a little bit more advanced. Take the Chocobo saddle for example, which has 3 buttons you gotta press. Start by adding the control key, then click the settings icon next to it, and click add sub command, then click the shift key, then click on the same settings icon, add sub command, and click on the I key. Then click the Steam button to go back to the game. Now click on the hotkey to see if it worked. If it did, you did it right. Click the Steam button again and it should take you back to the hotkeys menu. Click the settings icon and rename it to Chocobo Inventory. But let's take it a step further. You see this here? Click it and a window of icons will open. Go ahead and skim through these and choose the one that you think fits best. Since this is an inventory, I'm gonna click the little backpack and then color it yellow for Chocobo. Then click done. Click the Steam button to go back to the game and look at your icon. I like to add icons to each hotkey just to make them easier to remember. So these are the hotkeys that I personally use, but you will realize that as you play, you will start adding more and more. But what's also cool is that if you go into the game's keybind settings, you will realize that almost everything that you can do in the game has a shortcut option. Like teleport, for example, doesn't have a default shortcut. So let's add it ourselves. Click add virtual menu, go to your keyboard and click T. Name it and add an icon. And then go back to your game. Find teleportation in the keybinds menu and then click it to change it and then click on the hotkey that you already made to add it to the game. It should say T. Exit out of the menu and make sure it works. Honestly, the options are endless, so take time looking through the keybinds and find what you want to use the most. Hotkeys are neat, but let's say you're a keyboard and mouse player that has never used a controller in 14 and you don't really feel like learning it. Another cool option that you can do is just having your hotbar on your trackpads. Yes, you can do that too, and here's how. Go back to the trackpad settings, click on right trackpad behavior and change it from as mouse to create touch menu. Name it hotbar and this time add 1 through 9 from the keyboard, the dash and equal sign. Then go to the HUD settings in game and make your hotbar into a 4x3 setup. Then on your Steam Deck, touch the trackpad so the hotkeys will come up. And then go into the HUD settings in game and line up the hotbar. I found that 140% on the hotbar is the sweet spot for the game, but you can always reduce the size of the hotkey menus in the on-screen display settings on the Steam Deck. For cozy gamers, 14 on the Steam Deck is a dream come true. Activities like crafting, gathering, managing your island sanctuary, G-posing, or just AFKing in Limsa translate beautifully to the handheld format. The handheld nature of the Steam Deck lets you play wherever you want, whether it's your bed, on the couch, or dare I say it, the bathroom. That said, I wouldn't recommend attempting savage raids on your Steam Deck unless you really trust your skills. Still, the fact that it's possible to raid on a handheld device is mind-blowing. Another thing that I should mention is that the Steam Deck is a portable machine, which means you can take it outside. And while I did not expect this to work, you can actually connect it to your hotspot and play literally anywhere you want where you have cell service. It's actually wild. Another thing I want to point out is that while the Steam Deck does have a built-in keyboard, I don't really like to use it for Final Fantasy XIV, mainly because it takes up half of the screen when you pull it up, which can be annoying during the middle of a dungeon. So if you happen to be a frequent chatter, I recommend investing in a small Bluetooth keyboard just to make typing easier. I have this 40% keyboard for my home, and I have this really tiny one in my bag for when I go out. In terms of battery life, this is probably the biggest downside here. Expect around 2 hours of gameplay. That said, given that the game requires an internet connection, you'll most likely be playing near a power source anyway, at home or in a coffee shop for example. But for those of you who are true gamers, I would recommend getting a battery bank with a Type-C connection. One of the things that I liked about playing 14 on the Steam Deck is that you don't really need to have extensive tweaks to get the game running. I personally have the Steam version of the game, so I just installed it and logged in. But if you have the Square Enix version, it can be a little bit more complicated. Is it worth playing on the Steam Deck? Going on a trip but still want to do your dailies? The Steam Deck has you covered. Want to grab your spot in Limsa before the cat girls take over? The Steam Deck is perfect for that too. Have an hour to kill between classes? Want to game with your friends IRL? Or don't feel like getting out of bed? You guessed it, the Steam Deck is for you. And while it might not be the ideal setup for hardcore raiders doing savage reclears, the Steam Deck excels at almost everything else, especially crafting, gathering, exploring, running roulettes, or just hanging out in Limsa. But here's the best part, if you already have a gaming PC, you can actually stream the PC version of 14 directly to your Steam Deck, and it's not even that hard. With this setup, you get all the benefits of the Deck's controls paired with high graphics, high frame rates, and even shaders from your PC. In my opinion, this is the best way to play the Steam Deck, because not only do you get your trackpads for hotkeys, you also get the full 14 experience with no compromises. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. If you're a 14 fan with a Steam Deck, it's a no-brainer. Keep in mind that the battery life and the screen size will remind you that it's still a handheld, but for those of you who dreamed of a portable Final Fantasy XIV experience, there's no need to wait for a mobile version. it's already here, and it's fantastic. Thanks everyone, I really enjoyed making this video, and honestly it's projects like this one that make me feel like a real YouTuber. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and everything else that other YouTubers say. Anyway, peace!